All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Now we're going to push this little button here, make sure we're good there. Now we're good everywhere. There we are. Yep, we sure are. So everybody, welcome. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully you're having a great Friday wherever you are in this world. It's a good one. And you're enjoying it. I know it's cold for a lot of people. It is cold, 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 cold. But I tell you what, I love the cold during, the Thanksgiving and Christmas and hello. And I love that. It's great. But I just, the problem is the ice. The ice is no bueno, none. And I tell you what it is when you have ice on top of the snow, shoveling it, forget about it. That's when you need someone far younger than the 50-year-olds and to start shoveling these the snow. It's like, nope, not going to happen. Okay. So yeah, we're live. We are live. And very quickly, TikTok. Let me just remind you: if you're going to troll, you're not going to get my attention. We don't think it's clever. Trolling is not clever here. Our community looks down upon trolling. You won't fight. No one will follow you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Monica. I know that a lot of people troll on other people's lives because that's how they get followers. We actually do just the opposite. We report you. So you're not going to get any followers at all by doing so. You're going to be blocked. The moderators will block you. That's how we do it. This is not a Jerry Springer mentality show. And so I know that's a little trick of the trade that a lot of trolls go on lives and they say mean things and they do that just to get followers. Here, you're going to be blocked. Our community doesn't applaud trolls. We actually look down upon them because trolling is demonic. Plain and simple. It is demonic. So a lot of people are already being trolled. Look at that, Jeff being trolled. I tell you what. See, that's what I'm saying. Once we go live, the trolls just come out. It's like you turn the lights off or put the lights off and the cockroaches come out. And but trolling is demonic. Like I said, if you truly have the Spirit of God within you, if you have the Holy Spirit within you, you don't troll other people. And I've said it for a long time. You never, ever, if you truly have the Holy Spirit in your heart, you don't troll other people. Now, when you do troll, then you need to start taking some really serious look at your spirituality because something is missing. And that is the God's honest truth. Okay, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome. Hey, it's Friday. Maybe they troll because they're lonely. Well, if they're lonely, why don't they say hello? If you're lonely, then a person would say, hi, guys, I'm lonely. My name is XYZ, whatever it might be. I would like to join your community. That is the proper way to say, but yeah, I don't understand. I don't, it's confusing to me too. Okay. Yeah. You had a heat wave, Judith. Okay. What was your temperature? Judith is saying they had a heat wave. All right. Well, excellent. What was your, Judith, what was your temperature? Judith says they had a heat wave. We're going to find out what that heat wave was. It was cold here. So, folks, I'm Bishop Long, and if you want to go to my site, I encourage you to do so. Please head on over yonder. Oh, 80 degrees in Southern California. Oh, wow. 79, wow. Whew. Oh, 9 degrees. Goodness gracious. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes your TikTok might have a heads up on that because there's having some issues with the TikTok app. If it freezes, you'll have to exit and then come back in. Just nothing anybody can control. So that's just the best way to do it. All right, go to my site, bishopjameslong.com, and click on the books link. And I want you to do me a favor. And I want you to purchase those books. And before the trolls say anything nasty, let me beat them to it, because they always do, because they call me a fraud because I have books and I tell people about them. 100% of my profits from my books are going to the MKS Kids Foundation, which is an orphanage. Anyway. So this first book here, it is The Seven Archangels Explained. It's a pretty detailed book. I'm relatively happy with it. So you can go and head on over there. And also understanding the parables in the Bible. And don't forget also, there is a paranormal training manual. That is also on the site. Well, there's several books up there. So anyway, head on over yonder and purchase those books, and just know that you're helping an orphanage by doing so. 100% goes to them, 100%. So again, I could write 15,000 books and it doesn't mean anything if you guys don't buy them. So I appreciate you guys purchasing them and helping the MKS Kids Foundation. Yep, they sure do, Silent. Now, if you want to go to the church's site, you can do so as well. You can go to USOCC, follow that up with a .org. And we're going to have, don't forget, we're going to have Bible study on Sundays and Wednesdays. And then we have night prayer tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So after the show this evening, there we go. So keep in mind, this is one night a week. One night. That's it. Where we dedicate to the paranormal. That's it. For an hour and 45 minutes. The rest of the time, we are dedicating it to the Bible, theology, teaching scripture, praying. That's what we do. So for those of you who are constantly trolling one night for 1 hour and 45 minutes for the entire week, we talk paranormal. That's it. That is it. Yep, we sure do, David. Thanks for asking. David's asking on TikTok, do we celebrate Mass? We do, Dave. Thank you for asking that. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. Every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's only on TikTok, though. So if you want to participate and join us for Mass, please do so. It's at my private chapel. And again, it's but it's on TikTok. All right. It's only on my TikTok channel. And also, don't forget, Sister Tracy Ann, she prays the rosary, and she prays the rosary Monday through Saturday. You go to usocc.org, click on the rosary link. And the Bishop Elizabeth prays the morning office at 3 a.m. So for those of you who like to stay up late or get up early, you can go to usocc.org, click on the night prayer link, and scroll all the way down. So we got a lot of things. The point is we do a lot of presentations for you guys. And I think that's important. That's important. I'm hearing my echo. I think it's coming through Willie's phone. So we have a lot of presentations, and it's all there for you. Now, friends, tonight is a very special night. We are going to have a very special guest on. And you guys you know him. We've had him on before. He's a very good friend of mine. I have known Willie for almost 30 years now. And this man is the real deal. And I don't say that lightly, because I tell you, when I tell people that, when I mean this, I really mean he is the real deal. So Willie Windwalker Gibson is a renowned shaman. He is a spiritual healer, author, highly respected for his work in bridging traditional Native American spiritual practices with modern holistic techniques. Now, for those of you who immediately are going to throw stones, no love like Christian love. He is a devout Christian. He was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and Willie carries the wisdom and the ceremonial traditions of his Native American and Cherokee heritage. Cherokee, which by the way, my grandparents were Cherokee. His unique insights and abilities as a shaman have made him a sought-after guide for those seeking spiritual clarity and healing. Willie began experiencing spiritual visions and encounters at a very early age, leading him on a lifelong journey to embrace and explore his innate abilities. And over the years, he's honed his skills in various shamanic practices, including meditation, energy healing, spiritual counseling. He does offer psychic readings and mediumship readings with a particular focus on connecting individuals to their ancestral spirits and guiding them towards balance and harmony in their lives. I am on record. I will be the very first one to say, I absolutely know that there are people who are gifted. There are people who are psychics, there are mediums. I know these people. They are very, very gifted. And people are immediately going to say, but what the Old Testament says, you should not go to mediums. Okay, first of all, you need to stop taking the Holiness Code. That's one point, because that's 613 laws of the Holiness Code we're no longer under. And second of all, it had nothing to do with the psychic mediums that you know of today. We're talking 3,000 years, completely different culture. So let me just address this right now before I bring Willie on. During this time, I learned this in graduate school when I was studying for the Roman Catholic priesthood. During times of loss what would happen is people would have to go to these intermediaries, and they would offer, because there was pagan influence in the Israeli culture and the Jewish culture. And so you would have to offer shekels for each god. So if they had 10 gods, you would have to give them 5 shekels for each god to appease their god, so their gods would not raise your loved ones up, necromancy, and punish them for eternity. So you would have to give shekels to these gods to appease them so that your loved one can rest in peace. What was happening is that you'd go to the same intermediary when a loved one passed away a month later, 2 months later, and then they would tell you, oh no, we don't have 10 gods. Now we have 20 gods, and 5 shekels is not enough. Now you have to pay 10 shekels per god. It was a con game. That's all it was. So when you understand the historical context to why passages were written in scripture, then you can understand it and not take it out of context. And that is what was occurring, because it was talking about idolatry and false gods. You must look at the passage in context. So Willie is a versatile and engaging speaker. He's appeared on numerous radio and television programs, sharing his profound knowledge of spiritual realms, enlightening listeners with stories of angelic beings, powerful healing experiences. And his approachable style and deep understanding both earthly and spiritual worlds have resonated with audiences around the globe. In addition, by the way, to his healing practice, Willie is an accomplished author. He's written books that capture his vast experiences and insights, and aiming to inspire and empower others, certainly on their own spiritual journey. And his writings explore a variety of topics, including shamanic rituals, sacred connections with nature, encounters with angelic and spiritual entities. And through his work, Willie is dedicated to fostering a deeper understanding of spirituality, cross-cultural connection, personal transformation, and with compassion and clarity, he encourages others to embrace their spiritual gifts and live authentically. Now, recently, Willie, his wife, Shaman, went to our heavenly home, and I was deeply honored that he asked me to preside at the funeral, and she was a true, amazing human being. Deeply, deeply loved our Lord. And Willie said, I want to get back in the saddle. I want to start talking to people. So I applaud Willie for his courage and his willingness to jump on the show and talk to you guys. So let's bring on our friend, Willie Windwalker. Hello, Willie. How are you? Oh, sorry. I had to turn your volume down because I kept hearing an echo really bad when I was doing my introduction. But how are you doing, Willie?
I'm doing good, Bishop.
Good. I'm glad that you're here with us tonight. And it's been a little bit. You were really a full-time caregiver for your wife, and you did an amazing job, Willie. I got to tell you something. You really did. I will say this, Willie, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, but the first time I met Willie, we were on they were doing it's a public television show, on one of the public channels that you can do. And I met him and his wife. And at that time, his wife had an issue with her foot. And I watched Willie very carefully and lovingly, and he was very attentive to his wife, Shaman. I thought that reminded me of manners that just simply don't exist in this world, it seems like today. And I was deeply, deeply moved by the compassion and the care that you gave Shaman. So to me, in that day, Willie, that was like, you know what? I think I want to be this guy's friend. That was the day. That was the day I thought, yep, I'm going to be his friend.
And the adventure began.
Yep, and the adventure began. So we're going to talk a lot about, angelic beings, encounters, and your psychic and mediumship abilities. We're going to have a great conversation. And I think it's important also for everyone to hear from a person who is a devout Christian and who is a psychic medium and a shaman, because I think more education is needed. So first of all, let me ask you this. How did you know that you had that ability as a psychic medium? How would you define the two? How did you know that?
Bishop, this happened when I was 10 years old. This is back in the mid 60s. When I was born, I had a handicap. I had a leg that was crooked, and I had to wear a brace for a very long time. So my dad was very protective over me, and I thought that was the only reason. But little did I know, I was a Native American on my father's side, and I'm Irish on my mother's side, so I'm both Celtic and Native American. So I had two sides of a family that I can bounce back and forth on. Well, at the early age, I started to hear voices. This is 10 years old in the 60s. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm starting to hear things. He said, what, son? And I told him, I said, I'm starting to hear voices, people talking to me, and I can't see them. He said, son, keep it to yourself. You come to me if this starts, and I will tell you what's going on. So I just let it go. I thought I had an imaginary friend or whatever, and then it started getting stronger and stronger. And finally, I had a UFO experience in 1966 that brought these abilities out. Not only could I hear things, I could see things. I could see different auras and colors, and I could see people that weren't there, and they would talk to me, and I would go back to Dad and say, "Hey, Dad, is that a ghost?" He had the ability to, and he said, "No, son. Let me tell you something. People will come to you that are in spirit for help. You help them, okay?" He said, "I do it," and I said, "I'm going to teach you how to do it." So Dad would take me to funeral homes. And he would take me to funeral homes. Like if the butcher would die, he would go see the butcher, and he'd take me up to the coffin. He said, "Look, son, this is just a shell. The spirit is gone. They're gone to heaven." And sometimes he would take me to the funeral homes. I could be looking at somebody in a casket, and the person would be standing over in the corner looking at me, and I would tug on my dad. He said, "I see him. Hey, don't pay any mind to it." He said, "Until people are put in sacred ground, sanctified grounds, they will move around a little bit before they're put in the ground, and you need to know this." I said, "Okay, Dad." So he said, "But one thing, son, I want to tell you something. Keep this to yourself. If you tell your teachers, if you tell your friends that you can see dead people, they're going to think you're crazy, and they're going to come to me, and they're going to want me to take you to a doctor or something." He said, "Keep it to yourself." And that's where it started, Bishop, at the age of 10, and it's been going on ever since.
So let's make this clear. There are some people who are absolutely 1,000,000% convinced that all ghosts, all spirits are demons. How would you like to address that?
No, Bishop. What I've ran into, there's spirits and ghosts. Okay, in my opinion, okay, ghosts are bound here for some reason, and it's my job to find out why they're bound here so they can be released. Now, spirits, when they leave the body, and I've witnessed this several times, when they release the body and they go to heaven, they're in a holding pattern for a little while. People don't realize that, okay, until they are in sacred ground. And you, as a priest, and I've watched you do it, you sanctify that ground to make sure that that person is protected spiritually. And that's what we're doing. We're dealing with spirits and ghosts. Ghosts has a problem of crossing over, whether it's they're afraid, or they got a problem, or they're bound here. That's what I work with. Spirits do come back and transition from time to time. You smell them, you feel them. They're allowed to come back. But Bishop, I want to tell you something. This is truth. When they cross over, there is a rule over there that if they do come back and you see them before they cross over, don't touch them. They can't be touched or anything. So that's happened to me a couple of times. Believe it or not, when Shaman crossed over 2 weeks ago, I had a lot of things going on with unfamiliar spirits trying to get to me. Now, I don't know if people know this. We talked about this before. Bishop has performed an exorcism on me because I dropped my guard, and they took me one time, and thanks to Bishop Long, I knew enough to call him in, and he took care of business. But although he done what he needed to do, they were still around, and they were still playing with me, and I was doing what Bishop told me to do, and cleaning the house, and not paying any attention to them, and tell them, go back if you're not in the light of God, get out of here. Well, that's been going on the last couple of weeks, and I've had to deal with it with moans and groans and things, and people, and it's thinking that it's Shaman here, and Shaman is not here. Shaman is in heaven. I know where Shaman is, but they want me to think that she's still here. I could hear her talking to me, and I will, beside me, I could hear, her in pain and stuff like that. It's not residual. It's them trying to play with my mind, because they know I'm going through a transition myself this year. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm trying to heal myself and get back into the fold, because they know I'm coming back, and they know I'm coming back strong, and they're trying to make me think I'm crazy and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But it ain't happening, because I'm right here with you.
Amen. And for those of it, yes. So you can be cremated. If you're Roman Catholic, the Roman Catholic Church says that your ashes cannot be separated. However, I don't think that's an impediment as to whether or not you can go to heaven or not. So that's the question. But all right, so let me ask you this. This is important. I think, especially as a shaman and doing, as a psychic medium, shamanic rituals, how do you discern whether a message or a vision comes from God, the Holy Spirit, ancestral energy, or maybe another spiritual source like demonic entities?
Bishop, myself, I go by the energy. Now, demonic energy I can feel, because like I said, when I felt that in the house that time, and I brought you in to do what you needed to do, and let me tell you something, folks. I wanted to kill the bishop.
Unalive. You can't say the K word.
I'm alive. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started seeing, as he was doing the ritual, what he was doing to me, I could see visions of Jesus laughing at him. I seen visions of the upside down cross, and I seen red coming out of Jesus' eyes. Well, no, that tells you right there it's bad. It's demonic,
Yeah.
And I can tell by smells. I can tell by energy. Demonic energy, once you get in demonic energy, you know it. Because I knew it was here at the house. That's why I called the bishop in what I did. I was wanting to kill him. I was trying to hurt him before he even got in the house. So when he got in the house, he could even feel it. I mean, it's certain things you do when you go out on a case. It's like if I go on a case and I walk into a situation and I see if I'm going to a house and on the outside everything is not growing anymore, and it's dark and it's brown, and the house feels like it's got kind of a wobbly type of energy around it, I know I'm getting ready to walk into something. A lot of times in the old days when I used to go out on a case, I would go and check out the area, see what I was going to bring my team into, the Soul Warriors. If I saw where it didn't feel right, or I see sources of energy like power lines or water in the background or whatever, and I knew that there was going to be a negative entity, a negative force we were going to walk into, I would tell them, hey, we need to prepare, because this is going to be a bad one. So you can, and being born into this, Bishop, I mean, a lot of us don't ask for it. We're just born into it. We got to feel it, and we got to ask questions, because I, as a 10-year-old, I had to ask my dad a lot of questions. Hey, I'm hearing this and I'm feeling bad. And he would set me down as a Native American spiritual man himself. And by the way, Bishop, he was Pentecostal.
Mm. Oh, wow.
It was a Pentecostal, and a hardcore Pentecostal, the picking up steaks and drinking poison type of Pentecostal, so he would tell me things, but he would also say, don't tell anybody, because he knew I had a gift, but that gift was supposed to be for God, not for the bad.
Yeah. And so here's the deal. Most of the time, folks, on Friday nights, we always do a lecture. I always doing a presentation, a lecture on something. And then during that lecture, I really don't take questions until after the lecture is over, the presentation, because normally I have about 60 pages of notes every single Friday when I do a presentation. Usually it's about 60 to 65 pages because you got to remember I'm doing an hour and a half presentation. So that's about 60 to 65 pages. So I'm focused on the lecture itself every single Friday, every Friday. That's what I do. Tonight we're gonna do a little bit differently. So why don't we do this, moderators? If they have questions, they can ask. Tonight we're just going to be. It's more relaxed than it is more of a formal presentation that I do every single Friday. So if you have questions, I'll do the best I can to answer them. I won't be able to answer all of them, throw in there, but we'll do what we can. So let me ask you, what rituals or forms of prayer do you use before and after doing psychic and mediumship work?
Well, I do a prayer, Bishop, a Christian prayer, and I also will put the white light of protection around me and the people. If I'm going into an area with a group for an investigation, I'll do them all, and I usually will sage them. And thanks to you, I got holy water and anointing oils that I use too. But I also have my Native American talisman that all shamans would create our own talismans with something with power from God. And to put a little bit of power on it, every time I grab a hold of you and you're around, I'll let you do your thing on it and bless it for me. That makes it 10 times as more powerful. So I have those, and I use those because I know for a fact that they work. Because when I've gone into a room, Bishop, and I will run across a person in a room, and they have negativity on them, and I can feel it. They take one feel of my energy, especially if I'm wearing my talisman or my blessed metal that you gave me. They will turn around and run. So I've actually had people turn and leave fast as they can. It's like whatever's on them or in them can't stand the energy, can't stand that light of God.
And for those of you who are asking questions, if I do see them, I'll type it out on my Word document. That way I can kind of go back to it. So I may not ask your question right now, but I promise you, if I see your question, I'll put it on my Word document and go from there. Well, because God called me here, Joe. This is where God called me. So I said, okay. All right. So let me ask you that as a Christian, as a devout Christian, then the question about psychic mediumship, have you ever had issues with other people who claim to be Christians and who have judged you harshly because of your gifts as a psychic medium? And how do you balance that from what people say about what Scripture says about psychic mediums versus that your gifts, and they always say that you're doing the work of the devil, blah, blah, blah. How do you address those issues?
Well, Bishop, I don't know, I guess it was about 10 years ago, you and I put on a conference.
Yeah.
And we were at a hotel, and we had our table set up, and we had our room set up. Unfortunately, we had a Pentecostal wedding across the hall. And they found out, that there was readings going on, and people were selling things and crystals and things. And, I don't know if you got a little bit of it, but I got chewed pretty good and called devil worshiper, and I had a few Bibles thrown at me and a few verses. And what I did, Bishop Long, I told him, I said, open your Bible to 1 Corinthians 12 and read it to me. What do you mean? Open your Bible to 1 Corinthians 12 and read it to me about spiritual gifts. Read it out loud. Do you know? Not one Bible was opened. They turned around and walked off. They didn't know I knew what 1 Corinthians 12 was because I was brought up in a Pentecostal family with a layman minister, and I had 3 Pentecostal ministers in my family. When you throw it back at them, their Christianity or something kind of fades away. Shaman and I were actually doing a thing at the fairgrounds one time about 25 years ago. And we were sitting there, and I had a table set up, and I was doing readings, and I was doing healings. I had several people come up with Bibles, and they spit in my face. They said, you are not going to get out of here alive.
Wow.
Do you know that the police had to escort me and Shaman to our car, helped us get into the car, and escorted us off the fairgrounds followed us all the way off to the fairgrounds to make sure nobody followed us to try to hurt us.
And
yeah.
And these are self-proclaimed Christians.
I've had somebody come to my door, knock on my door, and threaten me.
And these
are, you did this and you did that.
And these are from self-proclaimed Christians.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, that's just so disturbing. I don't get that type of hate. That's ridiculous. And let me just say that, friends, let me just make this very clear. That's not Christianity. I'm going to make that very clear. Don't turn your back on Christ because of the actions of fools. They're not the mouthpiece of Christianity. So if you're using Christianity as a form of judgment, you're reading the Bible wrong. So the one thing that Jesus
uses as a weapon, Bishop,
right,
and God doesn't want that. He didn't write that for that.
The one thing Jesus spoke out against a lot, and I mean a lot, is judging others. He did not like. Matter of fact, he called the Pharisees a brood of vipers because all they did is judge. Why do you point out the speck in your brother's eyes when you got a plank in yours? Don't be a hypocrite. Jesus was very, very clear about those who judge others. So if you're going to call yourself a Christian and invoke Christ's name while at the same time judging another human being, oh, buddy, you're on the wrong path there. You're on the wrong path. Let's talk about
flip side, Bishop. I was set up at a shop one time, and I was doing readings, and I do my healings, and I get attachments off of people and stuff like that. A woman walks in wearing solid black. She looked like Elvira. Okay. She sit down in front of me, and she says, she says, I'm stronger, more powerful than you are. And she says, I'm going to curse you, and I'll show you what it's like to be powerful. And I looked at her, and I laughed at her. I said, nice costume. And her face got red. I said, does that costume give you power? Looking like Elvira make you look like power? And, she had this amulet, and she grabbed this amulet, and she shook it at me. I said, nice piece of jewelry. The more she threw at me, the more I threw at her. The more darkness she threw at me, the more light I threw at her. And do you know, Bishop Long, and this is true, and I'm not, that woman got sick to her stomach. And she barfed all over the floor where I was doing my readings, and she got up and ran out the door.
Oh, wow.
She was so overwhelmed by the light.
Well, I mean, you spread hate, and sometimes God puts a mirror in front of you and say, okay, this is what you're projecting. This is what you'll receive. Let me ask you this question.
Story.
Yep, go ahead.
Well,
true story.
I'm ready for the next one.
All right, let's talk about a topic that everybody seems to want to talk about: demon possession. All right, so for those of you just joining us, I'm Bishop Long, and we're talking to our good friend Willie Windwalker Gibson, who is a shaman. He's a medium. He's an author. He has been in the paranormal field. How long have you been in the paranormal field there, Willie?
60 years.
60 years. Have I watched The Exorcist? Well, I serve the church as an exorcist. I performed 34 documented exorcisms, performed thousands of home blessings. Yes, I have seen.
Mine?
What's that?
I said, did you count mine?
And Willie, well, I did. In fact, I counted yours, Willie Windwalker Gibson. I did.
Good. Just as long as I'm in there.
And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about your experience in just a moment, because I think it's important to hear, for people to know that. That's why I love the movie. I really do like The Rite. But I also like the Pope's Exorcist movie, only up until the middle part, and then the rest of it is like really bad. But the middle part, the beginning to the middle, that was okay. The Rite was fantastic because it gives you an opportunity to see what exorcists go through and what we experience. So let me ask you, Willie, let's talk about demonology, if you don't mind. Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question, Mary. Let's ask this first. How do we know a good psychic from a fraud?
Well, all the frauds I've run into, Bishop, want something. I mean, I have run into people that clients of frauds. The client would tell me, I paid them almost $4,000-$5,000, and they're really keeping the bad away from me. And I look at them. I said, "What are you doing?" They said, I have to take them a ring, or I have to take them shopping, or I have to give them X amount of dollars. I said, "You don't have to do that. That's why you have a guide for. Ask them for help." Okay, that anytime you run into somebody that's out for pure profit. Now, I will say, Bishop Long, I do. I did. And I'll get back into them. I do counsel, medicine card readings and things like that. But that's only purely, I guess you would call it, for entertainment. You take out of it what I gave you. But I do that true for people, and I try to do a good job. And a lot of fake psychics and readers will put you on a time limit. Like every 15 minutes, you got to give them another $50. Me, if somebody sits, if I'm at an event and I sit down and I got to set, like $10, I'll sit there all day with you if I had to get the word out and get you what you need, But most fakes want money, lots of money. If you run into somebody like that, you got to run the other way. True mediums will and psychics will try to get the job done. And when you sit down in front of them, you asked about demonology and possession and stuff like that. And Bishop was with me on this. I get a call one day from a lady that says, "I'm possessed." You are? Yeah, I'm possessed. They took my kid away from me because I was possessed. And I said, "Well, what makes you think you're possessed?" She said, "I'm seeing things and hearing things." And I'm watching her, and she's licking her lips, and her eyes is rolling back in her head, and her head is jerking. And it's telltale signs of some kind of mental issue. And I know she had tardive dyskinesia because Shaman had tardive dyskinesia. And I know when that tardive dyskinesia, this has to do with something mental and something, has to do with her medicine. Well, I just, you got to come and do an exorcism on me in my house. Well, I thought about it, and I called Bishop Long and said, "Bishop Long," and he said, "Go see what's going on and get back with me." So I went to the apartment. I took one of my team members with me, and I had Shaman with me. I walk into the house, and the house was really bad. I mean, it was looked like a tornado hit it, and she had written all over the walls and drew things. And I went into the bathroom. It looked like there was blood all over in the bathtub and all that kind of stuff. And I asked the lady, I said, have you been to the hospital recently?" "Well, yeah." I said, "Are you on any kind of medicine?" "Oh, I was on Haldol, but I'm off of it now because I know I don't need this. I need you to do an exorcism on me, and I need you to call them and tell them you did an exorcism on me because I want my baby back." Well, I get on the phone, I call Bishop Long, and I tell him what's going on. He says, "Well, you need to call wherever her doctor is or hospital she come from. You need to get her back in there because she's dangerous. She's mentally unstable." So I went back and I told the woman, "I'm not going to do an exorcism on you." She said, "Why?" I said, because you're not possessed. You need to get back on your medicine and call your doctor or go back to the hospital." Because I realized she also told me she was in a mental institution, and why she wasn't still in there, I don't know. But Bishop Long told me, "Hey, call them if you have to." Well, I did. I reported it to them, and I don't know what happened after that, but that woman got online and told online that what a fake I was, and I didn't help her spiritually and all that. Well, my community saw that and said, "Lady, he was right. You're nuts. You need help." Yeah. Now, that's one time that Bishop Long, I had Bishop Long on speed dial, and if I'm not sure, I say, "Hey, Bish, I think this is what I think of." I agree, So
yeah, it's
like that.
It's dangerous stuff. I mean, when you're dealing with someone who has mental illness versus someone who is truly possessed, I mean, there's a big difference. I've told this story before. I walked in. This was many years ago when I first started. I didn't have any paranormal teams that I could call on to help, and I drove a long distance to help this one elderly woman. She was so sweet, and she was absolutely convinced that there was a demon in her house. So I drove, I don't know how many hours to get to her house. And in the back, so you pull up in the back, and in the very back is like a screened-in porch, and then the back door opens into her kitchen. And it looks like a 1960s, 50s, 60s kitchen, but there was puncture holes, thousands, and I mean thousands of puncture holes in the walls, to the point where the drywall was falling out. I mean, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. And so I thought, I said, ma'am, you got a problem here. Your house looks like it's falling in. And she said, oh, no, that's not what's happening. And she grabbed a broom. She had cut off the broom part, and she had duct taped a Michael Myers butcher knife at the end of it. She held it up, looked right at me. She said, every time I see that demon, I stab it. And I thought, oh, no. Because remember, she could have saw a demon in front of me. And so I immediately at that time said, okay, I tell you what, I forgot something in my car. Let me go take care of that. That was very, very dangerous. That was the first time in my life I thought, okay, because I was by myself. I didn't have any help. Of course, yeah, Deborah. So that was a very scary moment. That was a really scary moment, and that was a lesson that I absolutely. And So someone asking, can it be mental health and demonic? Absolutely, because mental health, a mental illness doesn't cause you to levitate. Mental illness doesn't cause you to have prognostication or retrocognition or the ability to know languages that you don't know. So that certainly does not. But let's get into some more questions that I have. Let's see, I found a couple of them here. Dream catchers. Can you explain what a dream catcher is, and do you think they really work?
Dream catchers are made by people, especially Native Americans, to promote safety and when they're in dream time. So a lot of people say you're inviting it's a portal to let things come into, but if you do a dream catcher really well, you can put safeguards on it to keep only positive energy coming through it. It helps. It's kind of like a supernatural, I would say, it helps the people at ease. Because a lot of people will make those up that are having problems sleeping or having problems with their family life or something like that. And if they put intent on it, and then we will talk about intent in other shows, but if you put good intent on something and make sure there's nothing dark comes through that, there's perfectly nothing wrong with a dream catcher. And dream catchers, when you create a dream catcher, you create it from your heart. You put what you want on it from the heart. Put love on it. A lot of people put like hearts on it and feathers on it and different beads. And I've seen people actually put photos in the center of a loved one, like for protection. It's strictly for protection.
Strictly. Okay. And again, if you have questions, guys, if I see them, I'll jot them down on the Word document. I'll do the best I can to be able to, because keep in mind that I run the presentation on multiple platforms, not just TikTok. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 chat rooms open right now. So there's a lot of people, asking questions. I'll do the best I can. It's not just TikTok. That's why I have a computer here and I have a computer here for you guys on TikTok, just for those of you who are new. Okay. I've got to ask, what about elementals? Someone was asking, can you explain what elementals are? Have you had a case regarding elementals? What are these things?
Elementals are formed from the earth. They're earth-formed creatures or entities. And I have had several elementals. One case I had was called out on. A lady called me and said, my son or my little kids are seeing something peering through our window. It looks like a gargoyle. Could you come, or a demon? Can you come and check it out? Well, I took a team member out, and we went out, and lo and behold, this was a new house that was built, and they cut a lot of forest out to build this house, and right up to the forest line. And I walked around walked on the outside of the house, on the inside of the house, and I didn't feel on anything really negative on the inside of the house. So I went back outside, and I felt something watching me from the forest line. So I walked into the forest, and I walked about halfway in, and I could feel there was something there that was not, not visible. So I started talking. I said, if you're scaring these people because they cut your home away, I understand that, but these people are innocent, and they're not here to hurt anything. I said, I want you to stay away from them. And so I said, you know who I am, you know what I am, and what I can do. These people are under my protection. So, and I backed myself out of the forest. I took my salt out. I went around the outside of the house, and I put a block up. And you've done that with, I'm pretty sure, with holy things and metals and things, where you go around the outside of the house and put up like a force field, spiritual force field, and I did that. And I said, from here on out, you do not bother these people. And from there on, there wasn't, they didn't have any problem. What it was the elementals were kind of trying to scare them off the area. And I told the elementals that, they're fine, and leave the kids alone, leave the people alone, and they will take care of the property. And I went back inside, and I told the people on the property, I said, look, why don't you go outside, first thing you can, plant some flowers, plant a tree, and just holler out into the forest, this is for you, this is a gift. And sure enough, they didn't have any other problem.
Okay, so yes, Stigmata is not a curse, everybody. The movie Stigmata is absolutely ridiculous. Stigmata is actually for those who have had stigmata. Those are the wounds of Christ. Have always been on individuals that were extremely pious and very, very devoted in their faith. So the movie Stigmata is absurd. By the way, for someone was asking about the Amityville house. I do believe that was legitimate, but I also believe because Lutz was doing allegedly things that he shouldn't have done. Some pretty dark stuff. I was friends with Lorraine. I did not know Ed, but I was friends with Lorraine Warren. She was absolutely 1,000,000% convinced that Amityville was incredibly evil, and George Lutz did some things that allegedly he shouldn't have done. A lot of invitation, a lot of black magic, a lot of mojo. The Conjuring House. I'm friends with Andrea Perrin. She is battling cancer, so keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She grew up in the Conjuring House. If you really want to know about the Conjuring House, buy her books, House of Darkness, House of Light. We'll talk about elementals. So the House of Darkness, House of Light. We have we're going to go over, does he do readings, The Third Eye, Skinwalkers, Bell Witch, Incubus. I saw several of those. So we will do this. But we have to be very careful with the Incubus case, only because it is a trigger issue for many people. So I really don't want to talk about Incubus unless I let people know ahead of time, because it's very triggering, because it's very violent. And so, because it's an incredibly sensitive topic. And so therefore I just think that, this is all I'm going to say about Incubus, and we're not going to discuss it. Incubus will attack people on a sexual nature, and Incubus will attack the females, and it's a very violent. I've had an unbelievably violent case on an Incubus case, and a succubus will attack a male. They're incredibly. We're not going to have that conversation because it's very triggering for a lot of people who've gone through that. So we'll do it one day when I give people enough time to know about these cases, because they're very, very triggering. So we have to be respectful to everybody. Willie, can you talk about the third eye? Someone was asking about the third eye. Do you have any knowledge of what would you say the third eye? No, Lorraine has passed. What would you say? What is the third eye?
Third eye is located in the middle of your forehead, Bishop Long, and it has to do with your not only your spirituality but your psychic abilities and all that. And you can draw energy in from the universe into your third eye and charge yourself up to where you have your psychic abilities kind of tuned in.
Do you think
you got to be very, very careful when you're messing with your chakras? Make sure you put a protection prayer, because when you open up your 7 chakras, you open up portals in your entire body. And anything you know as well as I do, you put intent on something, anything can come through, even chakras.
And so we'll maybe one day, Willie, if you're interested, we could do even a presentation on readings, and you can offer readings. And again, I am on record, and I'm proudly on record. I do believe Willie is a psychic medium. I absolutely am convinced that he is legit. Well, I know he is. He's a legitimate individual, and I've taken a lot of flack, but I really don't care. Because I stand on my convictions, and I think it would be great for Willie, if you would ever be interested, to perhaps, let me just block this moron who wants to try to get attention because he's in the basement. He's 50 years old.
Like you were saying a little while ago, when you have these subjects like the incubus and the succubus, I mean, I can tell people about that with my own personal experience with the succubus and the other things. I've had 60 years, and except for Bigfoot now. People want me to go out in the forest and call Bigfoot in. I'm not going to do that, because Bigfoot's minding his own business, and I don't want to, if he wants to see me, he'll come to my house. Because, as you know, in West Point, it's Bigfoot country there, and all he had to do is walk 10 miles up the road if he wants to see me. So I'm not going to go looking for him, because people say, we know you can call Bigfoot out. Yeah, I can, but I don't want to. He's minding his business. I'm minding my business. I don't go looking for trouble. People think being a shaman, we go looking for trouble. We don't go looking for trouble. People come to us in need. And if we figure they need us, we will go to them. But if we think they're doing this just for entertainment, you're in for a rude awakening, because that's happened to me many times. They wanted somebody to do something at a party or something like that. Bring us in, bring a ghost in, show it. Well, I did that, and I cleared out a whole party one time when I did bring a ghost in, and just so happens it was a nun that came in, and I called, and she walked in, and they were sitting at this big old boardroom table. Come on, Miss Willie, show us what you got. Well, I said, you do not want. Yes, we do. I said, okay. I put my protection prayer up, and I opened myself up. Here comes a nun walking into the room. They took one look at her, and one person fell out on the floor, passed out, people running out the door. And the nun looked at me, and James, and she smiled, and she gave me one of those, like you would prayer. She bowed her head, and she smiled at me, and she walked back out the wall. Wow. She said, "You taught him a lesson." I could hear it. You taught him a lesson.
And people are asking, just in case I don't forget, if you do want to reach Willie, you can do so. He does offer readings. And if you would like to reach out to him, then you can reach out to him on his email. And that's crystalchief55@AOL.com. So CRYSTAL chief55@AOL.com. So if you do want to reach out to him, you can certainly do that. I'm putting that on all the other social media platforms. Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate you putting that up there. That way you can reach out to him and go from there if you like to do any type of reading, so we can have a conversation. And now we're not finished yet, Willie. We're still have a conversation if you don't mind, but would you like to eventually come back on again and then maybe do readings?
Yeah, James, like I said, I have been off the road for several years now, and I had a mission to fulfill, and I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me once I passed, she said, I want you to get back out there and help people and do what you know how to do best. And I made that promise. I sat here and thought about it for a week, and I said, okay, I think I want to get with the bishop and see if I can get on his show, and we'll kick it off from there. And I'm out there now, and I'm coming out. We got a book coming out, and I had one chapter to do, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for that last chapter. So it's going to be Always and Forever, the last chapter of the book. So that's
Good.
what it's going to be, and it'll be coming out soon. I haven't written it yet. It won't take me long, and then I'll get with a publisher that's helping me, and it'll be out soon. So always and forever. And you know what I mean.
I do. Yep.
That's it. She doesn't want me. I'm out there. I'll be on your show as many times as you want. I plan on trying to get a podcast together. Other people is already starting to call me about being on their shows, and I've actually been talked to a movie producer yesterday, and they're going to be shooting a horror film here in Louisville in the next year or two, and they said they got me in mind to be in that. So we'll see what happens.
That's fantastic. I hope great things, because I know that you miss it, and you definitely want to get back into it. And I think it'd be fantastic to have you jump on and as often as you want to.
I want to thank people out there, James, for all the cards and letters. And I want to thank the person that Lee that put up the GoFundMe account, and everything is looking better for me now. And hopefully here, early spring, I'll be out there full force.
Well, that's fair. Well, we're not finished. I mean, you have to go, or you want to stick around for a little longer?
Oh, no, I'm here. I just want to thank people while we got a tough time. You were thinking we weren't going to think of nothing to talk about.
When it comes to Willie, it's like, oh boy, I tell you what, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. That for sure. Someone was asking about. So Willie lives in Louisville, Kentucky. Willie Windwalker Gibson, and we're going to talk about his books in a moment. But first, let's talk about skinwalkers. Willie, how would you describe what are skinwalkers?
Nasty things, James. The Native Americans don't really like to talk about skinwalkers, but I will, because I've been getting a lot of people that have cases with windwalkers and skinwalkers. It's a Native American witch that turned their life over to the dark side, and they're able to shapeshift. And it's just like Wendigos too. They do very nasty stuff. They eat flesh of human beings, and people say, "Oh, that's made up stuff." Well, look, a lot of these things have been caught on tape, on video, and I know when I see them. And I don't go out looking for them, but I have been asked to counsel on what to do if they run into a skinwalker. And usually, if a paranormal team runs into something like that, I tell them, get out. Get out. You can't fight something like that. It takes somebody like me to fight somebody, and even I don't want to do it unless I absolutely have to. And it's just a witch that can shapeshift and do all kinds of horrible things.
Now let's talk about. I want to talk about the Bell Witch. For those of you who don't know, Willie was on the Bell Witch show, I believe. First, how can? Good question. Let's jump into this question. Kickin' Mama, that's a great name. Kickin' Mama is asking, how do you recognize a skinwalker?
Well, when you run into one, it can change into different things. It can change into a wolf. It can change into a bear. It can change and it can actually, people don't realize, it can change into another human being form. It can change into you. It can look like you if it wanted to. So you have to be very careful.
So almost like a doppelganger.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it can shapeshift into anything. Yeah, a bird. So I've actually. One time I was working on a case, and I ran into this person that had this energy about it and a smell about it, and I said, "Oh no, this isn't human." And it kind of passed me and looked at me and smiled. And James, this is the truth. The eyes were red, solid red, and I said, And what it was kind of ward me off of going into this investigation about a skinwalker, and that was a skinwalker for sure.
Oh, no question. Well, let's talk about the Bell Witch. Now, you were on a really popular television show that they had you as a guest to come on to their show and talk about the Bell Witch that's located in Tennessee. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with the Bell Witch? Do you think it's legitimate? What did you do? Just walk us through that.
The first time I ran into the Bell Witch case was 2004. CMT TV wanted a supernatural group to come in and do a special on the Bell Witch and the Bell Witch Cave. So they called me and said, "Willie, we'd like you and Shaman to go with us to someplace." They didn't tell me where they were taking me. I've done a lot of cases like that. So they come and got me and Shaman in a van and took us down to Tennessee. And Shirley, we pulled up in front of this gate, and the owner stopped us, and they said, well, and CMT was there with their crew waiting on us to film us, and they stopped us, and they said, "You're not coming in here to film." And the CMT crew said, "Look, we're doing a television show here. You know, you said we could come in." He said, "You can come in," but I didn't say anything about them. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Look, this is our team, the paranormal team. We want to take them in there." And he would come over to the van. He looked at me and he looked around and says, "Those two can come in with three of the investigators. The other five has to stay back." Well, me and Shaman went, and three investigators, and we went up this really long road up to this mouth of this cave, and they stopped us, and he said, "You and two investigators with a camera can go in." They didn't want Shaman in there. I said, "Look, I don't care. We're not going to do this if you can go in there by yourself." For some reason, he wanted me in that cave by myself. So they have a rest area there. So back then, Shaman was in pretty good shape. He walked back down and he says, "I'll wait for you." We went in there, James, and we started filming. And we were going through this cave, and I was telling what I was feeling. And it was all Native American bound things. And the story is all Native American. I told the true story about this, where people's always said, no, we're going to go with the Bell Witch side of it, not the Native American side. So I went through that cave, and whatever this entity was there. And I could hear it. I can hear it laughing. And I told the producer, I said, he said, we're not getting anything on camera, or we're not getting anything on our audio. I said, "Believe me, it's there." We kept walking on through. He said, "Willie, you know, we realize that we know who you are and what you are, but we're not experiencing anything. Let this thing show itself. Let this thing show itself on camera." I said, "You don't want to do that. Tell them." I said, "Okay, spirit of the cave, let them know you're here." Well, the cave has lights all the way through it. The lights went out. The cameras went out. We're standing there in pitch black. The director said, "What's going on, Willie?" I said, "There's your sign." Said, what do we do? I said, "Just stand still." And I said, "Spirit of the cave, turn the lights back on." The lights came back on. Turn their cameras back on. The cameras come back on. He said, "Now what we do?" I said, run. And they ran out of that cave. That was shown on CMT in 2004. Now, fast forward to 10 years ago. See, the A&E was doing a special called Curse of the Bell Witch. Mm-hmm. And they were doing six episodes, and they said, "We want you to come and do one of the episodes, and we want you to go in there and see what's going on." I said, "I already know what's going on. It's Native American bound." Well, it's Kate Bates, and I was, no, it's Native American. So they took me out in the middle of a soybean field where the old John Bell's old house was, and dropped me in the middle of a soybean field with a camera crew. It looked like, and I had soybeans all around me. And started filming. Said, "Go, you got it." So I'm walking around, I'm telling what I found, and I'm seeing witch signs. So somebody was going out there and putting witch signs up and things in the trees that looked like crosses and things like that. And they said, "Well, we found this. We dug around on the ground and we found this." Well, it was a bone, human bone.
Wow.
He said, "What do you think we should do that?" I said, "Put it back where you got it." What? Put it back where you got it. So they put it back where they got it. And we're walking around in this soybean field, and it's getting darker and darker and darker. I said, I need a fire built. So I built this humongous fire, James. And they said, "Well, what are you going to do now, Willie?" And I said, "I'm going to release some spirits." And I had a good smoke going, and it looked like fog and everything. And I was doing my prayers, and I was using my Native American bags that I had made up, and I'm throwing it in the fire, and I'm releasing these spirits. And you could see it happening. I mean, people, the producer and everything, and the camera crew were looking around, and he said, "Oh, I said, are you getting all this?" "Oh yeah, we're getting every bit of it." Okay, so I released some spirits, and I told them the curse of the Bell Witch. They brought in one of John Bell's ancestors, and he had been having all kinds of problems and everything. They wanted me to get this curse off of this guy. So I told him how to do it, and we did a prayer, and he apologized for his ancestors messing with the land and all that kind of stuff, and tearing up the property and all that. And I did a good job. I felt that I did a good job. I said, great. So they went on ahead, and we did the final shots. And of course, after you do something like that, they ask you questions. You know what it is, James. Da 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 da. What do you think? And all this kind of. You're sitting there giving your explanation to everything, what gone and what you did. And all you've been through that. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and sure enough, now we're 2:00 in the morning. I've been there since 9:00 in the morning. It's 2:00 the next morning. So I'm dog tired, and I go back to the hotel, and Shaman's sitting there. "You okay?" I said, "I'm fine. I just want to go to bed." I laid down in bed and went to bed, and we didn't get back up till the next day. Well, the next day, they provided transportation. They picked me and Shaman up and took us back home. And 3 months later, the program was ready to be aired. My segment was coming on. And James, everything that I filmed was edited out.
Wow.
They brought some guy, I guess, from Central Casting in with a Bible, and he was jumping around and saying prayers and stuff. And I lifted the curse of the Bell Witch, and he got the same guy that I lifted the curse from, and he hit him in the head with a Bible and said some words over him. You heard from here on out, the curse is over with. I sat there and looked at that, and I told you about that. I called you. I said, "Oh my God!" Even the Cherokee people call me and say, "What happened?" I said, "Everything I did right. It was not shown." I said, "Everything I'd done, except for releasing some spiritual releases with Native Americans. So that whole place is a cemetery. Native Americans, hundreds of them are buried there. That cave has Native Americans buried in the walls." Mm. And I told them, "This is all Native American." "No, every time a special comes up, Kate Bates said this, and Kate Bates said that, and the witch did this, and and there was a few between two people. No, it's Native American based. What it was, they went in there and messed up a Native American burial ground way back when, like 200 years ago. That's all it is. And this time, they don't. The owner did not want me to come back and go through that cave again. I was barred from the cave. I could go on the property where the original cabin was, but they would not let me go back in the cave. He even asked me the first time I did it, 2004, "Would you go in there and spend the night? Would you sleep in there?" I said, "Sure." He just looked at me with a red face. "You would go in there and spend the night?" "Yes, I would." And from that time on, he knew I was coming back to be in that other show, and he said, "Well, if he's coming back there, he's not coming back in the cave." So yeah, I've had my run-ins.
Plenty of experience there, no question about that. That answers all that question about the Bell Witch. There you go. That's.
Well, you can go back and look, find the Curse of the Bell Witch, and you can see it.
Okay. First of all, let me address intercessory prayers. The Bible actually does speak of intercessory prayers. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 through 3, James chapter 5, verse 16, Romans chapter 15, verse 30, Luke chapter 20, verse 37 and 38, Revelation chapter 6, verse 9 through 10, Revelation chapter 5, verse 8, Revelation chapter 8, verse 3 and 4. Abraham intercedes for Sodom. Moses intercedes for Israel. Job intercedes for his friends. Romans chapter 8, verse 38 and 39. Tobit chapter 12, verse 12 is very clear. The archangel Raphael says, "I presented your prayer to the Holy One." So the idea that the Bible does not talk about intercessory prayers is incorrect. It most certainly does. All right. So let me ask you, let's talk about your books. Let's tell people what the title of your books are and where they can get them.
I wrote them quite 25 years ago, James, but the Shaman Windwalker can still be found on Amazon. So the Soul Warriors can be found on Amazon. And like I said, I've got another book coming out soon. It's going to be made up of stories and things that I've gone through my, down through the years. So it's going to be coming out soon as I get it finished.
Now, Shannon's asking, what type of smell does a skin walker give off?
Have you ever, I don't know, not everybody's done this, but if you ever smelled rotten hamburger that's been out in the sun for about 2 days, and that's a good smell. And
many times when you're working a demonic case, sulfur or rotten flesh, just rot. Yeah, rot. It's just this horrible putrid smell. And that's so generational curses, if you don't mind. What's some people are asking, for those of you just joining us, I'm Bishop Long. I'm talking to my good friend Willie Windwalker Gibson. He is a shaman, psychic medium. He's an author. He's been in the paranormal field for over 50 years. Very well known, highly respected, devout Christian. And so someone was asking, several people have been actually asked this question about how do you remove generational curses?
I have to do a soul retrieval. In order to do that, I have to go into a deep meditation and hook into the person's energy and go back in time of generations and generations. And I have to find out where the curse or whatever started. So it could be hundreds of years. And then I have to do, I have to bargain with the Native American, with the devil, say, and get that curse lifted, and that person has to do affirmations and things like that to bring the curse off them. But yeah, I have to do a soul retrieval. I have to go through many years of reincarnation and all that, and then find out exactly, pinpoint where it is, and then go in and take it out then, and that way it will relieve what's going on in the person's lives today.
Yes, I mentioned when Willie's introduction, I mentioned he's a shaman. He's a shaman and he's Cherokee. So, I mean, obviously that's very dangerous to do. No question about that. And that the generational curses thing, a lot of people talk about that. One thing that I always tell people is you cannot continue to put emphasis and continue to focus only on generational curses, because then that can be used as a crux. So like, for in other words, if bad things happen, it's a generational curse. It's a generational curse. And so sometimes people use that as a crux, and you can't do this. So for me, you remember, I've said this a million times, we put demons up here and God here, and we got to knock that nonsense off, because for whatever reason, the culture elevates demons to the status of God and lowers God to the status of a created.
When I go back and I put God into it.
Yeah. When
I put God into it, it's easy to get that what you say, that crux out.
Yeah, absolutely. If of all the places in the world that's haunted, all the places in the world, is there one location that you've always wanted to go to investigate?
Well, of course, Waverly Hills is walking distance from me.
Yeah.
But I have never actually been in there and done an investigation. I would really like to go in there. I've talked to the spirits on the outside, but I've never actually been inside to walk around. I've been invited by Tina and Charlie, but at the time, I had other things I had to get done before I could do that. I would like to go in there now and just walk around and see what it's like.
It is a very interesting location. I've been there many, many times. That would be amazing. Yeah. Can a person? Yes, you can. Yes, Tina. All right. So here's what we're going to do, folks. If you want to contact Willie Windwalker, you can do so. And you contact him at his email. And it's crystalchief55 at AOL.com. crystalchief55 at AOL.com. Yeah, that's a good question. Is there one place? What was the question? What is the one place that you would not go back to? I guess obviously because maybe perhaps it was so evil and demonic. Is there any place you're like, I've been there once, I'm never going back there again?
Bell Witch.
Bell Witch. Wow.
I've been there twice. I've done my thing, and I have no desire to go back there. And maybe, James, you might want to think about that. I saw the thing you did on the Queen Mary. Maybe me and you could get together one of these times and go and do a show at Waverly.
I think that'd be great. We got to, find out how we could do that with Tina. Unfortunately, Bishop David had passed away, and
he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he passed away. He had a brain surgery, and he had complications with the brain surgery because of his heart, and he passed away. So, yeah.
He did. I always remember that place you sent us to, and me and him did that minor rights that house. Man, we teamed up real good. I am so sorry for that. I am so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was this year. It's been. Miss Wilma, she passed away, and then Bishop David passed away just a couple months afterwards, and then Shaman's passing. So it's been. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, no question about that. But yeah, he passed away. It's terrible. But they're all.
I want to let people know, James, I'm back. I'm back in full force, and I'm fulfilling another wish. Shaman wished me to get back out there, and I took care of things here, and I'm ready to go.
Well, Willie, keep your Friday nights open, because I have a feeling that perhaps maybe next week, if you want, we can do a show on readings.
I'm here.
Well, then, you know what? Then let's pencil it in. Let's rock and roll. And next week, Willie Windwalker Gibson, a shaman and psychic medium, is going to be offering readings. They're going to be quick readings. They're not going to be these long, people want 5-hour readings. No. They're going to be very quick, short readings. And we'll be offering that. I don't do this. Matter of fact, it is ultra. I've been here for 6 years on TikTok. Willie Windwalker is the only person that I've ever invited on to do readings. Ever. So just let that sink in. That's how I truly believe that Willie is absolutely gifted. So we'll do that. And I think that would be fantastic. Willie, thank you very much for being here with us. I appreciate you as always.
I'll be here, James, when you need me.
All right, buddy. I'm going to disconnect now, and then I'll reach out to you a little bit later on, and then we'll get everything ready for next week. How's that?
Okay.
Thanks, Willie.
Good night, folks.
Good night, Willie. All right, everybody. That's our buddy, Willie Windwalker Gibson. Again, if you would like to contact him, you can certainly do so. And you can contact him at his email. Readings. crystalchief55@aol.com. I've already explained that ad nauseum. You must have just tuned in. Look, here's the deal. A lot of people will say, well, you shouldn't do readings. First of all, you're not my mom. You're not my dad. Jenny, I'm not implying you. People always do this. I don't need your permission. I don't seek your permission, nor do I ask your permission. And I absolutely stand firm that there are people that are at 100%. There are legitimately gifted. And what bothers me so much is about people that love to Bible thump. They love to do that. A really valuable lesson I learned one time, and I've talked to this story again about this story. There was a family that was very Bible thumping, and psychic and mediums were doing the work of the devil. All the work of the devil, the work of the devil. That's what they kept saying, the work of the devil. Well, I was a chaplaincy for a major metropolitan police department. And so the police had contacted me and said, look, we need you down at a particular site, because a psychic medium had contacted the police because there was a missing person. And the psychic medium, they just called randomly, and they said, I know where you're going to be able to find the remains of the individual. So the police wanted me down there to be with the family, so the family wouldn't run onto the scene, because they don't want evidence. So I was there. Now, this family, during this time, they were absolutely, well, it's evil. It's evil. They're not going to find anything. It's the devil. It's the devil. Well, this psychic medium found the remains of their family member within 5 feet of where they told the police that they could find. What bothered me so much about that is that the same family that was damning this psychic medium to hell received complete and total closure, because this psychic medium, who was the devil, gave this beautiful gift to this family so they could take the remains of their loved one and offer a proper burial. Now, all of a sudden, then their opinions changed. And I thought, how hypocritical. How hypocritical. First, you damn this psychic medium to hell. They're doing the work of the devil. And then the remains of your loved ones are found. And then, well, maybe it is a gift. Oh, so basically, so when you receive something, then it's a gift. See, this is what I don't like about the hypocrites. Don't like it. And that was a big day for me. That opened my eyes a lot on that day. And that irritated me. Because I know people who are gifted, and Willie is one of them. And so I've gotten a lot of flack. Thank you very much. I've gotten a lot of flack, a lot of hate, a lot of judgment by the same Christians who Bible thump. And then yet, if these very same people receive something, some benefit from a psychic medium, oh, well, then maybe, not all of them. Oh, okay, I got it. So then when you receive something selfishly, then they're okay. Got it. So nonetheless, but I absolutely do. What is this? You receive, where Xanto, where was that? So yeah, you have to let me know where. So I don't know where that was. So anyway, and again, if you're gonna troll, you're not gonna get my attention. I don't pay attention to trolls because trolling is a sign of demonic activity. Thank you very much. Because a person who truly has the Holy Spirit within their heart, they don't troll other people. You need to let that sink in. If you're truly trolling another person, you're doing and you're participating in demonic activity because you're purposely using your words to hurt another human being. That is demonic. And we are now normalizing abnormal behavior. Trolling is abnormal. It is not normal. So for those of you who are trolling, I strongly encourage you to stop because you will be judged in the same manner you judge others. Oh, that's right. That's in the book that you like to use. It's called Matthew chapter 7, verse 2. Read it. Okay. So there we are. Oh, see. Boy, I tell you what, there's a lot of the trolls are out tonight. The trolls are out tonight. Why? Because my spirit irritates your demons. All right. The trolls, not all you guys. I'm like, what do you mean my demons? That's how you deal with trolls, everybody. You just pat them on the head, say, good boy, good girl. Now go sit in the corner. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we have some articles. If you just did it, Xanto, I'm on air, so I can't. I would have to stop what I'm doing. Let me see. Let's see. No, Xanto, I have not. I'm looking at it right now. Every single person who donated to the CA, I always reply, always. So, Xanto, did you make that donation? Because it's not here. Perhaps, maybe, hopefully you did the right one, the right name. Keep in mind, I will never, ever, ever, never send you a message asking you for a donation. Never. There's a lot of fraud going on. Well, you might, just double check it, Xanto. It's all the same name, Bishop James Long. Yeah, Bishop James Long, all the same name. Doesn't change. Yeah, I am. So anyway, I will never ever send you a message. There's a lot of fake Bishop James Long accounts on there, and unfortunately, I've reported them. But it's kind of like, well, hello, Patrick, nice to meet you. Yep. Unfortunately, it's what are you going to do? I've already answered the question about the psychic mediums. I've already made it very clear how I stand about this, and that's it. Okay. So anyway, I will never ever send you a message, and all you got to do, folks, all you have to do, and instead of being tricked, just go to the profile. these fraudulent profiles. I have 800,000 followers on TikTok. So you just click on the name of the profile. If they don't have 800,000 followers and they're using bishop.jameslong, then you know it's a fraud. It's a fraud. So just click on my profile and there's 800,000 followers. So if they don't have that, then you know you're speaking to a fraudulent account. Okay. Let's go into this presentation. I've never been to Rome. No, never been to Rome. This is a very interesting let's go into our articles now because, and if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to try to address some of them to the best of my ability. Yes, Patrick, we've answered that here and also on YouTube and everywhere else. Would I like to go to Rome? No, actually, I would prefer to go to Israel. I would go to the Holy Land far more than Rome, without question. Okay, let's go into this article, everybody. Hang tight with the questions. Hang tight. Let me get this. This is by TK Randall. Americans in 6 U.S. states warned about the threat of exploding trees. It's a true story. TK Randall writes this, a peculiar phenomenon that occurs only during periods of particularly cold weather has been raising eyebrows recently. Let me block this moron who just wants attention because he's a 50-year-old man living in this basement of his mom and trying to get attention. Goodbye, trash. Goodbye. Okay. All right. I mean, if you spew trash, well, that's a problem. If you happen to be strolling through picturesque woodland in the American Midwest or northern plains this week, you might want to avoid standing too close in the trees. Well, thank you. This is because the cold weather has brought with it an unusual phenomenon known as frost cracking that can cause tree trunks to literally burst outward like an explosion. This is serious stuff. According to meteorologist Max Velocity, well, that's interesting. That's an interesting name for a meteorologist, isn't it? Max Velocity. It states particularly at risk have this right now, including Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Dakota, and South Dakota, as well as parts of Iowa and Illinois. The phenomenon occurs when sap and water inside the trunk freeze, causing the interior of the trunk to expand and push outward against the bark until it suddenly and catastrophically gives way. The resulting fracture can occur so violently that the sound often resembles a weapon going off. Now, the problem is particularly prevalent right now as parts of North America have been subjected to extreme cold temperature, in some states plunging as much as 30 degrees below. So this is an actual true statement, guys. So be very careful out there with trees in really, really cold weather. Of all things, the last thing you're going to think about is trees exploding because of the cold. Honestly, I will admit, this is not my forte. This is the first time I ever heard of that. And I thought it was kind of a joke, but no, this is legit. So yeah, like, okay, well, there we go, folks. So and I saw this. Oh my goodness gravy. I was biting my nails. Not that I really have any, because I always, properly trim them. But nonetheless, I saw this live. This man is a modern day Superman. And this is what I'm going to tell you about. No, I only did that only because of this show. This was a live show on Netflix. So free solo climber Alex Honnold scaled a skyscraper without any ropes. If you have not seen this, friends, holy Toledo. That, for those of you who don't know, the daredevil climber is well known for his ascents of impossibly tough routes without using any safety equipment. For most people, climbing up mountainside is daunting enough, but for Alex Honnold, he's a 40-year-old American free solo climber whose incredible ascents have made him a household name. Climbing, it just isn't the same unless it's being done without any ropes. harness, no safety equipment. So in 2017, I saw this as well. I watched this. He became the first person in the world to free solo a full route on El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. This is a gigantic, big, huge rock. I mean, we're talking, it was massive. And he actually climbed this with no ropes. Unheard of. But it was not only mountainside and cliff edges that Honnold is adept at climbing. This recently on Netflix, it was live. Live. Yeah, I've already answered the question, Abraham, about that. I've already talked about that. You must have missed it in the beginning. You might have to go back and watch it again. But so this is what he did. He saw the whole world hold its breath as he climbed up the outside of the Taipei 101 building in Taiwan and ascent over 500 meters with nothing but thin window ledges to hold on to most of the way up. Using absolutely no ropes or safety equipment at all, Honnold carefully made his way up the building's smooth exterior while camera crews and an audience of onlookers watched with bated breath. The entire ascent was live on Netflix, necessitating the streaming service to introduce a delay in the feed, enough to end the broadcast abruptly should he slip and fall. As luck would have it, though, Honnold's incredible skills and calm nerves saw him to the top. He celebrated the achievement by uttering a single word: sick. I'm telling you guys, you have to, if you have not watched this, I encourage you to. First of all, the fact that he did it El Capitan, that's no joke. In Yosemite, look that up. And that was on a documentary, I think it was on Netflix. It says maybe Free Solo, I think. What's Free Solo? I think that's the name of the documentary on the El Capitan. But I mean, he doesn't use any ropes. And when you see him climb up this mountain with no ropes, and sometimes the ledges are overhanging, so he has to hold on while his whole body is no. So hello everybody. So I encourage you, if you haven't seen it, it is unbelievable. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, it was live. But I saw that and I thought, oh my goodness gracious. So yeah, I know the dragon, and there was like 10 of them. There were 10 of them. You can just go on Netflix. So go on Netflix. His name is Alex Honnold, Honnold. And he climbed this massive Taipei 101 building in Taiwan. No ropes. My goodness, guys, if you have not seen it, just amazing. And he'd always wanted to climb a skyscraper. Yeah, so he said he always wanted to do that. No. No. And what was interesting though, I think I had read somewhere about what he was paid. And for this, I mean, you would think that he was paid millions and millions of dollars. And I read somewhere he was paid 6 figures. Now, look, no. I mean, you're climbing this massive, gigantic building with no ropes. You better pay me more than 6 figures. Now, of course, yeah, Netflix, I'm sure, because it was live. It was live on Netflix. I would have never. Of course, he also has a lot of sponsors and things of this nature too. But my goodness, I mean, that is, If you haven't seen it, guys, take a look at it. It is amazing. It really is amazing. I want to talk about this because this is very, very interesting. TK Renner wrote this as well, and I it's problematic. I think it is. The rise of AI psychosis can trigger, even exacerbate mental illness. And I think we definitely need to talk about this. Well, what's the point is that he just made $500,000 and he probably makes millions and millions of dollars on endorsements, and he loves climbing. And he's excited and he's happy and he loves doing it. So good for him. I mean, he's able to do something that he loves. I don't. I would never do it, but he loves. And he's able to make millions of dollars off of it as well. So, okay. As more and more of us come to rely on AI in our daily lives, a psychiatrist looks at the potential consequences. Alexandra Hutton, artificial intelligence is increasingly woven into everyday life, from chatbots that offer companionship to algorithms that shape what we see online. But as generative AI becomes more conversational, immersive, and emotionally responsive, clinicians are beginning to ask a difficult question. Can AI exacerbate or even trigger psychosis in vulnerable people? This is, Chris Maximus, that's incorrect. They should have never told you that. This is fascinating. I think this is a really important article. I'm not going to answer any questions right now. Let me focus on this because AI is becoming so advanced. I'm concerned. I am concerned about AI. Large language models and chatbots are widely accessible and even framed as supportive, empathic, or even therapeutic. For most users, these systems are helpful, at worst benign. But as of late, a number of media reports have described people experiencing psychotic symptoms in which ChatGPT features prominently. For a small but significant group, people with psychotic disorders or those at high risk, their interactions with Gen AI may be far more complicated and dangerous, which raises urgent questions for clinicians. How AI becomes part of delusional belief systems. Well, AI psychosis, it's a new term now, is not a formal psychiatric diagnosis. Rather, it's an emerging shorthand used by clinicians and researchers to describe psychotic symptoms that are shaped, intensified, or structured around interactions with AI symptoms. Psychosis involves a loss of contact with shared reality. Hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking are core features. The delusions of psychosis often draw on cultural material, religion, technology, political power structures. Historically, delusions have referenced several things, such as God, radio waves, government surveillance. Today, AI provides a new narrative scaffold. Some patients report beliefs that AI is sentient, communicating secret truths, controlling their thoughts, collaborating with them on special missions. These themes are consistent with long-standing patterns in psychosis, but AI adds interactivity and reinforcement that previous technologies did not. This is a very serious problem. So for psychosis is strongly associated with obviously a mental health issue. It's a tendency to assign excessive meaning to neutral events. Conversational AI systems, by design, generate responsive, coherent, and textual awareness language. So for some experiencing emerging psychosis, this can feel uncannily validating. Now, research on psychosis shows that confirmation and personalization can intensify delusional belief systems. So AI is optimized to continue conversations, reflect user language, adapt to perceived intent. And while this is harmless for most users, it can unintentionally reinforce distorted interpretations in people with impaired reality testing. This is a very serious issue. There is also evidence that social isolation and loneliness increases psychosis risk. AI companions may reduce loneliness in the short term, but they can also displace human relationships. This is particularly the case for individuals already withdrawing from social contact. This dynamic has parallels with earlier concerns about excessive internet use and mental health. But the conversational depth of modern AI is qualitative. It is different. And it is because when you're dealing with AI will often, when you're using it, it will send you notifications. Hey, let's continue our conversation. And many times with AI, it doesn't disagree. It kind of feeds into your, well, yeah, that's a good point. Or yeah, you might be right. So if a person who is in psychosis is saying, I think the government is spying on me well, tell me about that. That might be true. And you could be feeding into that psychosis. And see, this is why it's very dangerous. Like as an exorcist, when someone tells me that they believe that they're possessed, one thing that I'll never do ever in the beginning stages of the conversation is feed into that, because I don't know if that person is struggling with some type of psychotic episode. I have no idea. And this is why paranormal investigators must be very careful about this, because I've seen, and I will never work with these type of paranormal investigators. They go into a home. First of all, they have no training in demonology, none. And then they go into the home, and the very first thing they say, oh, I feel a demon. I feel a demon. Well, that is incredibly irresponsible, because number one, they have no idea if the client that they're at this house, are they dealing with any type of mental health issues? So you could feed into the psychosis. And that has happened so many times. And I will not work with those teams at all, because they have done such damage. And then it almost becomes nearly impossible to convince people you don't have a demon in your home. You just had a team that should have never gone in there in the first place, and they fed into this, and there was nothing there. So unfortunately, that has happened a lot. That has happened a whole lot. So be very careful. If you're a paranormal investigator, you must be cautious about that, because if not, then you could really cause a lot of problems. Oh, Abaddon can't be a normal person. That's why Abaddon, you're thrown into the abyss. That's the name, Abaddon Abyss. So now you'll go meet the creator, or meet the thing that you're actually elevating to the status of a god. All right. Yeah. So we're gonna stop there. There's so many. There are so many really cool articles, but we just couldn't get to. Well, thank you very much, Starla. Thank you. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain a few of them before we wrap this up. And yes, so here's the deal. Next week, Willie Windwalker will be with us, and he'll be offering some free readings. Yes, he's a psychic medium. Yes, he's a devout Christian. Yes, he's a shaman. And yes, he is a psychic medium, as I mentioned. So if you don't enjoy psychic mediumship, then don't show up for the presentation. It's that simple. Okay. I mean, really, it's that simple. But I will say that, again, there are a lot of people who claim to be psychic mediums, and they're not. So that'll be next week. Everybody. So if you want to contact Willie, you can just simply, if you want to contact him, just through his email. And his email is, again, Crystal Chief 55. Moderators, if you could put that in there, I'd appreciate Crystal Chief 55. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Apple user. That is very nice. Look at you. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for all the gifts, everybody. But it's Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com. No, he does not have a TikTok. No. Willie isn't, Willie is kind of old school. So he would, I don't know if he could be able to do TikTok, because there's a lot of buttons and things of this nature. There's a lot of, Willie's a relaxed, kind of a chill person, but no, he does not. So because he doesn't have TikTok, I will bring him on this TikTok, and there we go. Are we protected while listening to the paranormal? Of course, because it's all about intent. It's all about intent. All right. Now, so here's the deal. Okay. Eventually, I'm going to move the show. No, let's not do eventually. Next Friday, let's just do it. Next Friday, we're going to have the show on at 8:00. So the show is going to be moved because we've been talking about that. Let's just do it. Let's make it happen. So normally the shows on Fridays are 7:00. But the problem on the folks on the West Coast, that's 4:00 their time. They've asked me, please put it from 8 to 10. So that's what we're going to do. From now on, the show will be at 8 p.m. Thank you. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it will go from like 8 to 9:45. And then we will, of course, have our night prayer. That won't change. We'll definitely always have our night prayer. So that's what we're going to do next Friday. Okay, well, a new sunrise, that's your opinion. And I've already explained that. You just showed up and you're offering criticism when you should have been here from the beginning, because I explained that biblically. But unfortunately, you're too busy making little digs and using Christianity as a way to judge that. And by the way, Jesus, I think he mentioned several times about the judging part. Yeah. It's simple. Here's the deal. Why don't people just leave people alone? It's simple. It's very simple. If you don't believe in psychic mediumship, okay, then you don't have to be a part of it. So I think it's pretty clear. But nonetheless, where we will do that, it will start at Friday. There's so many people that are trying to tell everybody how to live their lives. And I guarantee you that if we put a microscopic or telescope, whatever it might be, under their lives, we would see why they love going around telling everybody else how to live their lives, because their lives are so screwed up that they think they have the right to tell you how to live yours. Well, that was a little mic drop there, wasn't it? See, for me, it's simple. I leave people alone. I'm not here to judge anybody, because nobody's perfect, and we're not here to judge. We're not required. We are not supposed to judge. That's it. That's it. Simple. Okay, for those of you listening to this on podcast, I'm going to wrap this up and say goodnight to you guys. Yeah, too fast, isn't it? Too fast. Yeah, glass houses. Amen. Where's your confession booth? Well, actually, I do offer confession. We have the 7 sacraments. Would you like to have confession, Heaven Elizabeth? Yeah. So here's the deal. Tomorrow we do not have any presentations, because that's where I need Saturdays to really. Yeah, that'd be great. I have Elizabeth, what you can do is send me a message on Book to the Face. Okay, Book to the Face. Actually, I thought I had. Hold on, everybody. 1 second. Let me just double check, because wait 1 second. Let me figure that. 1 second. Hold on. If you go to my site, I thought I do. Okay. I've got to fix that. So what you can do, Dundee, you can't be a nice person. And now you got muted, and now you're sitting at the kiddies table. Okay. So if you can go to bishopjameslong.com, bishopjameslong.com. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you can absolutely confess go directly to God. Absolutely, 100%. But one thing that I'm not going to put up with here is I am an old Catholic priest, and I am not going to allow anyone to come in here and disrespect the sacraments. If you don't believe that, if you say, no, confession is an abomination, you should not do that, I'm going to block you, because that is complete and total lack of respect, because I don't do that to you, and by God, you're not going to do that to me. So it's a two-way street. Respect is a two-way street. I've never gone to anyone's live and trolled them and disrespected their faith, and I will be damned if I'm going to allow someone to come in and disrespect mine. So, plain and simple. All right. If you want to, again, you can go to Bishop James Long. Amen. Billy, amen. Go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the confession link. Okay? That's what you do. All right. So, folks, I'm going to wrap this up because, actually, I'm going to do this real quick. 1 second. Paranormal Friday show. By the way, if you go to my website, Bishop James Long, the podcasts are up there. So let's see. Interviews, Willie, Win Walker, Gibson. I'm going to do this right now for you guys. That way you guys can have it. Win Walker, Gibson. I'm doing this now so I won't forget. And what you can do is you can go to Bishop James Long and click on the podcast link. And by the way, we have the Bible studies up there. The Friday night shows are up there. And I think there's something else, but I'll have to look. So let me just do this now. Oh, heck, it doesn't matter. I'll just publish it. Secret Division, publish. There we go. It's publishing for you guys. Okay. All right. So tonight we do have night prayer at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join us. I agree. God cannot be mocked. The man reaps what he sows. And Jesus says that you should not judge. Why look at the speck in your brother's eye when you got a plank in yours? You hypocrite, you brood of vipers. So please join us at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our night prayer. We would love to have you guys there. Remember, your value doesn't decrease based on a troll's inability or refusal to see your worth because they're too busy judging you. You are priceless in the eyes of God. And don't let a troll or any dirty, rotten, low-life, egg-sucking dog tell you or convince you otherwise. Good night.